Good evening, guys. Thanks for joining us. Hope you're all doing well. Guys, if you're jumping in, let me know in the chat where you're dialing in from. And if you could also let me know your business. I'd just love to get a little bit of a lay of the land. Good to see some familiar faces. Isaac, good to see you. Tim, good to see you. You're a glutton for punishment. If you're just jumping in, guys, jump in the chat for me. We'll be kicking off in just a moment. But I'd love to hear where are you dialing in from? What's your business? And also, if it's not too much to ask, I'd love to know what you're looking to get out of this session. What piqued your interest? Are you looking to sell? Are you just wanting to put options on the table? Is it potentially you're looking the opposite way to look and acquire your competition? We know at the last masterclass we ran on this, there was a lot of people looking to acquire their competitors. So that was a big motivator and wanting to understand both sides of the equation. Matt, good to see you. Q Energy based in Mount Isa, currently on a break in Norfolk Island. Hope you're enjoying it. Tim, good to see you in Melbourne, counselling psychology business. Eve, Perth, bookkeeping practice, 5-year exit plan. Love it. Awesome, guys. Keep it coming. I appreciate you guys being on time. As always, we're going to have some stragglers, so we'll let those in as we come. Now, guys, we're talking tonight about the seven-figure exit blueprint. This is how we sell a business for a massive profit in 3 to 5 years. We've run this session a number of times, and we've found that each time we've got a number of questions of the key sticking points that get in the way. So we've continued to dial in all of the content, and we've turned this into an end-to-end playbook. So I'm really excited to not only share with you hopefully some new ideas this evening, but also show you the time-tested strategies that we've used for many of our clients to help them facilitate multi-seven-figure exits. Even in our business, we have been able to build up parts of our business and sold them for multi-seven figures. We've now facilitated over 8 figures in M&A deals ourselves and done hundreds of millions of dollars in deals for our clients. So I'm going to run you through the kind of physical reality here, guys. The reason why you're here is first and foremost, you've probably been burning at the candle at both ends for years, right? Let's face it. When you're a business owner, you end up working longer hours than when you're employed for less money, and there's far more stress. And we do that because of the freedom and flexibility that business provides us. We get to choose what 16 hours of the day we want to work, right? But also, there's this beautiful opportunity for us to be able to build something that can be sold. So that's why you're here. Now, if you are a tradie, if you're on the tools, it's probably that your body's started to ache and you've really started to ask yourself the question, how long can I keep this gig up? Or if you're more of an intellectual type and you're not on the tools, you're really wondering whether you have the mental stamina to keep going. But what this ultimately comes down to, guys, is asking the question, what happens when your body or your mind says enough? And we see this all of the time, guys. We see that for a lot of people, they don't think about the exit equation early enough, and they don't want to sell their business until one day they do. And the unfortunate reality of that is that they leave it too late and they end up having to sell their business for cents on the dollar. So let me run you through the disaster scenario, guys. You might find yourself being forced to sell, being desperate, or having to do it cheap, or having to sell it to the first buyer that shows up. And if you leave it too late and find yourself in this disaster scenario, that isn't retirement. That is, as it is aptly named, a disaster because you end up leaving lots of money on the table if you only just would have acted sooner. The brutal statistic is, guys, that fewer than 6% of businesses ever sell for a profit. The vast majority of businesses either close the doors or end up fire selling and selling for far less than they ever expected to sell for. Okay. So, what I'd like you guys to do, if you haven't done so already, is I want you to jump on this QR code and complete the financial performance scorecard. And why that's important is because it covers the top 40 things that get in the way of business owners maximizing their profit, freeing themselves from the day-to-day operations, and ultimately extracting more wealth from their business. And these are the things that end up becoming the value multiplier. So the good thing is it's going to actually help you work out where are some of these opportunities that you're leaving on the table already. Brett's also dropped a link into the chat if you want to jump on it. And just quick shout out to some of you who joined us. We've got Ash, WA, about to sell the family farm, looking for another investment in the future. Fantastic. We've got Claire on leave in Kumbaluru. Hopefully I didn't butcher that. I have a podiatry business on the Central Coast of New South Wales, looking to exit in the next 4 to 5 years. Beautiful. Lisa, SA, exercise physiology practice. Ryan, physio in Melbourne. Great to see some allied health professionals. Janelle, Brisbane, electrical air conditioning 5-year exit plan. Fantastic. Darren, we've got Lake Macquarie, accommodation business, have previously been in a tax minimisation stage with the accountant, looking to switch to profit maximisation with exit options. I love the language, Darren. Nailed it. James, law firm in Canberra, looking for an exit plan. Michael, optometrist in Bundaberg. Beautiful. Awesome. Great to see a good mix here, guys. Keep jumping in the chat. Fantastic. All right, guys. So let's talk about the 4 mistakes. Now, there is a reason why 90% of business owners retire broke. So if these mistakes are something that you resonate with, guys, jump in the chat. We want this to be a conversation. And also, unless you want to jump off and ask a question, if you can keep yourselves on mute and just use the chat, and just to make sure that everyone can hear clearly, okay? So guys, first mistake, you are the business, right? I really want yourself to ask this question. If you stopped working tomorrow, whether it be for 2 weeks, for 4 weeks, for 3 months, would your business survive? Honestly. And this is a really important question, because buyers aren't buying a business. If this is the case, they end up buying themselves a job. And as a result, they're going to lowball you. Because if your business cannot run and grow without you, you haven't built a business. You've ended up building yourself a cage. Okay. Now, the extension of this, guys, is the freedom test. If you step back in your mind for 30 days, like step back completely, would the business continue to generate consistent revenue and, more importantly, consistent profit without you? Could your team make decisions without needing your approval? Would your clients receive exactly the same service if you weren't there? Would the operations keep running with reporting and with accountability in place? And if stepping away makes you anxious, if you think about stepping away for 30 days, and it seems like some of you guys are on holiday, so maybe this has been a bit of a test at the moment. If this makes you anxious, then you've just built a demanding job. It's not really an asset, okay? Now, mistake number 2 is waiting too long. So you end up grinding away at something until something breaks, whether it be a knee, a back, a marriage. A desperate seller always gets a terrible price, okay? To prepare your business for sale at a very bare minimum takes 12 months. Ideally, we advocate 3 years to prepare your business appropriately for sale. The reason for that is because if we do this properly, we can then have 3 years of full financials that we can demonstrate to a buyer that are hopefully all trending upwards. Because what I often see in a lot of these transactions, if there's 1 or 2 bad years, then what do they think the trend is going to be? Downwards, right? So if we have this upwards trajectory, this allows us to be able to paint the picture that that trajectory is going to continue, and you can typically demand a higher price, okay? The other part of this is there's probably about 120 things that we need to do to properly prepare a business for sale, guys. So it takes time to do that. It takes energy. Some of those things are harder than others. That is why we say optimally 3 years. Now, mistake number 3 is you think that selling is the only option, okay? Smart business owners build businesses that pay them whether or not they show up. Like, look at the biggest businesses in the world. Like, let's just say that you bought CBA shares today. Under what circumstances are you going to roll into the CBA branch and start telling them what to do, right? You have the ability to be a completely passive shareholder when you buy stocks on the stock market. But for most of us as small business owners, because we're on the coalface and we have been for so long, we look at our business completely different, right? So the goal here is that if we set our business up properly, which many businesses have done, we have the ability to have selling become a choice, not a last resort, okay? And we've got to be mindful of, guys, the most valuable business is the business that gives you choice and a future acquirer choice. And ultimately, the choice that you want is you could keep it and continue to live well off the profits. Be passive, provide advice to the business, it's completely under management. Or sell it and hopefully create life-changing wealth, or continue to scale it. Because what I often find is I've gone through this process with many of my clients. We do it over, say, 1, 2, 3 years, and they go from being completely jaded and wanting out to falling back in love with their business, because it wasn't their business that it was the problem. It was the fact that they were handcuffed to the business that was the problem. And in many cases, they actually go on to acquire other businesses and continue to grow at scale. Now, mistake number 4, guys, is trusting your accountant. And I'm pretty sure it was in the chat before. Forgive me, who was it? It was Darren. Accountants are great at saving tax, guys. But when you're a hammer, everything looks like a nail, okay? What we've got to be mindful of is when we are minimizing our tax, those same strategies actually make your business look less profitable, right? Less profit means lower offers. So if you are solely optimizing for tax, those tax savings can be costing you hundreds of thousands of dollars at tax time, right? So what do we avoid? We don't do cashies. We don't have 2 sets of books. We do things above board. Not to mention that the ATO has really sophisticated AI that they're launching and optimizing all of the time. So we just can't do those silly buggers anymore. The goal, if you want to maximize your business for sale, is to make it as profitable as possible. And that's going to mean that you're going to have to pay some
Okay.
extra tax. No bonuses, but ideally not paying any extra tax. Okay.
No,
So, Brett,
no,
can we chuck a couple of people on mute, please, mate? Thank you. Appreciate it. Cool. So let's talk through the brutal truth, guys. 2 businesses side by side. They can have the same revenue, they can have the same industry, they can be in the same city, and one sells for 1.5 million and the other sells for 4 million. The difference all comes down to the planning. The $4 million seller prepared and the $1.5 million seller waited until they burned out. And that differential is the fundamental difference between being comfortable and being able to live your dream retirement, right? I know which one I would choose. So let's ask the big question here. What makes a business truly valuable, guys? Like, what are buyers, investors, and future CEOs looking for? And this is really important, guys, because when I have these conversations with my clients, what we're trying to facilitate is the gap between emotional equity of what you think your business is worth. Because let's face it, like you've poured in a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into your business over years, if not decades. So you want it to be worth something, right? But buyers, and particularly sophisticated buyers, don't buy emotional equity. They buy intrinsic value. So, the core truth about value is that valuable businesses all share one thing in common. They do not rely on the founder, right? Like you might have a $5 million company, but if you're still the brain, you're still the brawn, and you're the glue that's holding it all together, it's going to be worth very little to anyone else. So, a quick pulse check, guys. Let me know in the chat. What do you think are the drivers of your business value? There's no right or wrong answers. Jump in the chat. Let me know. Don't be shy. The staff, Joel, yep, definitely. The systems, Karen, yep. Yeah, good systems age. Yep. Catherine, repeat clients, demand, staff systems. Peter, personalized service. Tim, decent profit and continued regular income. Age, ongoing contracts. Deborah, steady stream of clients, systems, employees. Moira, recurring revenue and stability. Janelle, staff. Yep, great, awesome. So let me summarize these into the 8 value drivers, guys, that we're going to be covering off tonight. So first and foremost is sustainable profit margins. So as a general rule of thumb, we want to have an EBITDA or earnings before interest, tax, depreciation, and amortization, or in layman's terms, what your real profit is before your accountant gets their grubby little hands on it, between 15 and 25%. The higher, the better. But of course, what we want is to look at the benchmark of profit in your industry, and you ideally want to be above that benchmark profit. Okay. 2 is recurring or reliable revenue. So in an ideal world, if you can have recurring revenue that comes in each and every single week or month from the same customers, fantastic. But for some businesses, that's not a reality. So we need to be able to demonstrate that that revenue is reliable. We're going to dive into this tonight. 3 is strong documented systems. We need to have a playbook that an acquirer can step into and know that the business is going to continue to run in your absence, and those systems need to have been battle tested. Just because we've got things documented and written down doesn't necessarily mean that they're valuable. 4 is a leadership team that operates independently. So the most valuable businesses have operations teams, have leaders, have directors who essentially they're running the day-to-day operations. They work in the business, allowing the owner to work on the business. 5 is low client concentration. So the higher the reliance you have on particular clients or customers, the more risk there is for a potential acquirer, and there's usually going to be very stringent earn-out requirements for that. 6 is minimal founder dependency. So the things that are dependent on you in your business are going to be tied into that earnout when you sell the business, and that often comes with golden handcuffs. We're going to talk about this tonight of how do we start divesting ourselves from those dependencies. 7 is clean and accurate financials. This is so important, guys. The big thing that we want to look at is we want to minimize the amount of add backs that you have on your financials. So if you've got personal expenses that you run through the business, but whether it be like travel or a vehicle or other bits and bobs, so let's face it, as business owners, we use our business to kind of sometimes be creative, right? To try and get some tax benefits. The less of that exists in your financials, the better. In an ideal world, we want to ensure that we are never debating over add backs because it's always the biggest point of debate between a buyer and a seller. And 8 is the growth strategy with upside for the buyer. Like as I mentioned before, we want to be able to demonstrate to an acquirer the exciting trajectory that your business is on, right? And what is the upside, the ROI that they can realize as a result of buying your business. And what all of these value drivers come down to is that a sophisticated acquirer doesn't want to buy a renovation project, and they're certainly not going to pay a premium for one, right? They want to buy a great business at a fair price. So let's dive into each of these guys. So value driver number 1 is profit margins. We want to have sustainable profit, and it's really important that it's sustainable, okay? So the margin target, ideally 15 to 25% plus, and we want to make sure that we have a consistent revenue story that you tell others when they look at your financials. Like profit is the truth that you tell yourself. It comes from discipline, and discipline creates financial freedom, okay? So we want to get off the roller coaster ride, guys. Because if you've got one great year followed by a crappy year, followed by an average year, it doesn't instill confidence in a potential acquirer. So the goal is sustainability. Now, what drives profit? Profit is a lag indicator for your financial model. And there are basically 4 things that kill profit and ultimately steal your wealth, right? And interestingly enough, this is actually one of the main reasons why people end up wanting to sell their business, because they get the shits with it because they feel like it's not rewarding them enough financially for the input that they're putting into it, right? So if we just fix this, not only does it solve that issue, but it now provides you with additional cash flow that you can use to solve other issues in your business. Use the value levers that we're going to talk about. So first and foremost, pricing paralysis. You're still pricing like you were when you were half the size, right? Like I see this all of the time, that business owners, they price like what their boss priced in their last job, or they price based on what their competitors are pricing, and they haven't considered the scale tax. As they grow and scale their business, we create additional operational complexity, and that's not reflective in the price. So therefore that comes out of your pocket, which flows into the second one, the cost creep. Overhead's growing little by little. Like interestingly, when I look at financials, and I've looked at tens of thousands of them over the years, there are very rarely glaringly obvious cost issues. They are what we call cash flow bottlenecks. They're seemingly invisible in isolation, but they add up to tax a business of thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars a month, right? So cost creep is a big issue for killing your profit. 3 is poor financial visibility. So you're making decisions without real numbers. Like if your bookkeeper or accountant is not at least reconciling your books by the first week of the following month, you're flying blind. Like if you're only doing your bookkeeping to do your BAS, it basically means you're now 3 months late on the financial data. If your chart of accounts, which are all of the labels on your profit and loss statement, are not accurately broken down and have specific categories that if a stranger looked at it, they could tell exactly what it was without having to ask you for clarification, then there's ambiguity there, right? Like things like general expenses or heaping all of your wages and salaries into a single category. All of those things impact your financial visibility, which compound the cost creep issue, which then make it harder for you to accurately price. And then lastly, here's operational waste. It's rework, it's scope creep, it's inefficiency, right? Because when you grow and scale a business, we don't necessarily have the time to do back costing, right? Like you might think that a job takes a particular amount of time or a particular amount of material if you're a trade business. Or if you're running an allied health practice, you might think that each of your clinicians only needs 10 minutes at the end of a consult in order to do their file notes, right? But if that creeps to 15 minutes, or if costs and wastage on a particular job increases by 10%, all of that is coming out of your pocket. So guys, let me know in the chat, out of those four things, which ones do you think are impacting your profit the most right now? And you can say multiple if you like, no judgment here. Janelle said, are you advising don't include private insurances in business expense? Yes, I am, Janelle. There's also, and this isn't personal advice, but if you are running your private insurances like life insurance, income protection, trauma insurance, private health insurance, those kinds of things through the business, there are actually potential future tax implications on receiving payments. Okay. Further to that, usually those things are a greater tax deductibility to your personal income protection is tax deductible at your marginal tax rate as opposed to the 25% tax rate in your business. So my judgment on expenses in a business is that if I was the CEO of a publicly listed company, would my shareholders ever question me putting this through the business? Like, is it a direct benefit to the business? Hope that makes sense. And no judgment, like we all do this, but this is just the things that we need to consider to minimize the questions that an acquirer will ask when they look to buy our business. Hope that makes sense. Cool. Scope creep, yeah. Poor visibility, yeah. I get you. Cool. Hopefully you're taking some insights from this guy so far. Cool. All right. So let's talk about value driver number 2, which is recurring revenue. So this is maintenance contracts. This is repeat customers who are on schedule, right? These are retainer agreements. This is subscription services. Why this is important is because a buyer will pay more for predictable cash flow. And the interesting thing is, guys, like obviously for some businesses, this is easy. If you run a gym, it's just the status quo for it to be on a membership. Even professional services now, it's status quo for it to be on a membership or a subscription. But really interestingly, we have helped our clients in all industries, HVAC, electrical, plumbing, allied health, create ways of building subscription revenue. And at a very bare minimum, creating proactive value delivery plans that maximize the repeat customer transactions. So, what I want you to think about is what is it that your customers could want from you on an ongoing basis? And I'd love you as an action item off the back of this masterclass tonight to come up with a list. Even jump into AI and ask. Say, hey, I'm thinking about a way for me to create recurring or repeat revenue in my business. Here's my customer avatar. What are all of the things that my clients could potentially want from me? I'll give you an example. We had a client who come to us who had an electrical business and they were primarily doing residential electrical work, which is very transactional, right? People call when the lights are out or when the switchboard breaks or when a light switch isn't working, right? So it's very reactive. So what we did is we created a 40-point energy, safety, efficiency, health check. So when they got on site, they said, hey, I'm going to check the fault finding, but do you mind if I actually go around and do this free 40-point energy efficiency and safety health check for you? And I'll give you a customized report as an additional value add. Sure, you're here. Great, fantastic. So they'd go around and do the health check. And as they were doing it, they would ask the customer, okay, so let's talk about this. Like, is there any kind of task lighting that you'd love to have in place? Have you thought about certain PowerPoints that you'd like to have for convenience? Have you thought about upgrading the lights to LED? So on and so forth. Have you got enough aircon systems for summer, heating for winter, so on and so forth. So what that then enabled them to do is we created a document that essentially is part of the safety health check, the other things, the opportunities that identified and the wish list of the customer. They said, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, I've identified the fault, which is XYZ. I can fix that, and that's going to be X. From our conversation and from my health check, I've identified these other things, which I can do a platinum package and we can deal with it all today for Y. Or we can do some of it now and then I can put together a plan over the next 12 months for us to tackle the other things that you'd like off the wish list. Would you like option A, B, or C? See what I mean? All it is being able to facilitate a value-based conversation with your clients, because the reality is the reason why people are buying from you reactionally and like reactively is because they've been taught to be serial transactors. Your job is to take them from transactions to transformations. Fair? Right? And Liz, exactly, right? If a Sparky had these conversations with you, imagine the issues that you could have avoided. All right. And we know exactly what the issues are. We won't go into it, Liz. Right. It's 2020 vision in hindsight because your customer is a layperson. It is not their job to know exactly what value you can provide. Okay. So just by creating a system around how you unpack, have this value-based conversation, allows you to create recurring revenue. And it also is a growth system for your business because it's driving lifetime value of a customer. And obviously, it helps you create more profit per customer as well. Hope that makes sense. So, guys, let me know in the chat. Is there anybody here who believes they cannot create recurring revenue in their business? Let me know. And yeah, Anne, I have a membership model for training and mentoring already, about to open it up again. Yeah, and this is a great case study, guys. Anne created a membership model, got oversubscribed, and now has a waiting list of what, like 50 or 60 people that want to join her membership program. It's just crazy.
It's about 40
40,
at the moment.
40.
But
Pretty good. Good on you, Anne. Love it. Liz, what about commercial customers? Yeah, so look, commercial customers are obviously different on the basis that we are usually working on a tender arrangement or a service level agreement, but it's about being able to have that conversation around, well, okay, this is what our current service level agreement is. Here are all of the other things that we can do. Let's have a conversation around if there's any other things that you need help with. And what are the levers? More services, more frequency, or are there other things that we can do that add value, right? It's just, once again, how do we facilitate that conversation? And Moira, good to see you. I thought it was you. Mechanics are phenomenal. I wish, and this is the issue. I'm a busy business owner. I'm also neurodivergent. I don't remember to service my car. I've got the little sticker, but when I look at it, it's always the least convenient time for me to call to book in my service, right? So, exactly the same principle of what I explained with the electrical energy and efficiency health check. We do the same for a vehicle. We provide a report, one pager to the customer. We get them to either agree for us to provide them with proactive reminders to book in their servicing 30 days out, or we say, look, we understand that servicing proactively can be a big drain on cash flow. So what we also offer is a weekly subscription model where it takes the sting out of all of your servicing. And we have a basically, once again, a service level agreement of what that includes. And we provide them with a preferential discount on any remedial works. Because what we're doing is we're guaranteeing that they always come back to you. Hope that helps. Awesome. Commercial construction is hard, I hear you. But I think the big thing there, Martin, is about additional scope. So it's like, how do you leverage those customers to get you more work? Because the big thing here is it's not necessarily recurring revenue. It is about having consistency of revenue. It's about being able to, for a potential acquirer, for them to be confident that that government client is going to come with the business and is going to stay, particularly when you're no longer in the picture. So that also comes down to the contracts and the continuity clauses. Hope that makes sense. Yeah, same thing, Paul. Scaffolding's pretty tough. But once again, for most of these things, we can find a way to create recurring revenue. Cool. All right. So, guys, value driver number 3, document systems. Okay. This is a cliche. You've heard it a million times, right? The goal is for us to document every critical part of your business so it runs smoothly and predictably. Okay. When we do this, errors drop, rework decreases, customers are happier, profits become more consistent. Okay. Because good systems should be value drivers. They should allow your team to be more productive. They should reduce your key person risk. They should create more profit, right? Most businesses don't fail because of bad ideas. They fail because their systems were never built for scale. Okay. So there's a great book that's called Systemology, and it talks about the four-phase framework of systems. Okay, phase one is survival. You need to remove bottlenecks, and you're usually in survival because all roads lead back to you. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to start diverting those roads to get you out of the chaos. Phase two is stationary. This is about extracting capacity. We call this elevate and delegate, okay? Because you may have felt this before. You're all working incredibly hard, but it feels like you're running in place. And that's usually because your people and yourself are doing low value tasks that aren't moving the business forwards. So we need to work out how do we extract capacity so then we can use that free capacity to be able to do the high value stuff. Then phase three is scalable. We organize for scale. How do we build systems that are actually value drivers and growth drivers of the business? And then phase four is saleable. It's about how do we optimize the business and make it exit ready. Now, Catherine, do you recommend outside companies to assist here? Here's my philosophy on it. You certainly can. Like there's systemology consultants that you can use. But here's my thing. Systems themselves aren't valuable. I know that might sound a little bit contradictory. The value of the systems is creating it with your team, going through the process of creating the systems. Because what we're then doing is we're cementing the knowledge and we're creating new ways of doing things. Okay. So if you just create the systems and build a document, it's not going to be a value, right? People aren't going to use it. So let's talk about what do we actually systemize. And to be fair, guys, this has been easier than ever because you can sit down with your team and use AI to document all of these critical workflows. Main things: quoting and estimating, client onboarding, job scheduling and dispatch, service delivery, quality control, invoicing and collections, hiring and training, reporting and review. Like, there's 8 systems. All you need to do, guys, and I know this is overwhelming, when you're doing these things, wherever possible, record yourself doing it. So it's easy if obviously you're on a computer, get a software called Loom and screen record yourself doing it and talk through it. Why is that important? Because the thing that's often overlooked when building systems is the transfer of your tacit knowledge and experience. It is the invisible stuff that you could do with blindfolded that you fail to communicate, okay? So by talking through it, not only are you explaining your logic, but it will actually force you to improve the system as you go, right? Now, I know for some of you, you're doing this on site and you're going to feel like an idiot, but you've got one of these. You've got a smartphone. Get yourself a tripod and get yourself a lavalier microphone to get some decent sound. It'll cost you $100 at JB Hi-Fi, and you just need to document it, right? And if you're on site, you've got a customer there, just say, hey, customer, I'm just letting you know, we're just in the process of documenting our systems to train some of our junior employees. Do you mind if I film while I'm here? I'm happy to give you a $100 voucher for the interruption, right? And I promise your face isn't going to be on the camera. So there's ways for you to pre-frame this and capture it. Why is that important? You can take that recording, you can chuck it into AI, and AI will build the system for you. Really simple. The next thing is then you need to work on teaching your team the system and then getting them to follow it, okay? So I want you guys to pick one system. It might be one of the 8 that's on the screen. What do you feel is the most valuable system that you need to document in your business that will enable you to free up time, that will enable you to control the quality, to maximize profit capture? What is it? What's one? Hiring and training. Yes, huge. Scheduling and dispatch. Yep. Quality control. All on you, Eve. I hear. Workflow. Cool. Client intake. Yes. Quoting and estimating so I can hand it over. Love it. Cool. And the good thing is, guys, is a lot of these things that you have mentioned, if not already, within the next 12 months, you will be able to implement AI automation that in a lot of cases can do the vast majority of this work for you. But to set yourself up for that, you need to have the system documented and you need to be confident in the quality of that system, okay? Because trying to automate something before you have a quality system that's been tested is like running with a blindfold on, right? It's pretty dangerous. Cool? Hope that makes sense. Now, good news is for our private clients, guys, we've got the Systemize Yourself to Success playbook in the academy, and we've got a bunch of custom GPTs that help you work through this. The team is also working through building out a lot of core systems that our clients use, so you guys will have those as templates. Just remember, the systems themselves aren't what's valuable. It's embedding them and training your team that is valuable. So make sure that you block out the time to invest in that activity. Cool? All right, so let's talk about value driver number 4. Leadership independence. So your real job as the CEO is not to do the work, right? It is to build a team and build systems that do the work even better than you. And that might seem crazy right now, right? Because you're probably a unicorn. And the reason why you're a unicorn is because you have been forced to master all of these different skills, but you can't do them all well. And it's certainly not scalable. So we need to work on how do we get through the J curve of hiring people that maybe aren't as good as you at everything, but are good at one thing, and then building systems that elevate the quality of those people and with the volume of those people produce a far greater outcome than you could ever do on your own. Okay. So this is about enduring ego deaths, guys. Like, what do you think is stopping you from stepping into being a full-time CEO? And what I mean by that is that you focus exclusively on the strategy of the business, the vision of the business, the culture of the business, mentoring and building people. What's stopping you from doing that full-time? What's getting in the way? Maybe it's just you. Staffing issues. Yep. Staffing. Yep. It's a big one. Bit of fear of the growth. Yeah, I hear. Yep. Cash flow for hiring my replacements. Yeah, handing over the trust on key items. Yep. Funds to hire the key staff. Bloody people. Staffing. Just fired a VA. Sorry to hear that, Anne. Too busy to think and then too tired. Control freak. This is a big one. Okay. So this is what we see. I wrote about this in my last book. Where is it? That one there, 8-figure scale plan. There is a space usually between $1 and $3 million a year that something changes in a business, guys. That the business becomes more complicated. The margins drop. It seems like we're working harder than ever and we're making less money. And the issue is that we need to hire better people, right? That can be managers and leaders and take ownership of departments and divisions. But we can't afford the people that we need, right? So we're stuck between this kind of rock and a hard place. And trust me, I was there. Like it sucks. So there is definitely a J curve. And the key part here is, once again, the systems first. We need to stop looking for unicorns and we need to build systems that average people can run to produce above average outcomes that get us out of that kind of no man's land of business and get us through the other side where we can start making more margin and then in turn start hiring the specialist. Because your business will transition from being everyone a generalist, right? Where you're a small business, you're pretty scrappy, usually up to about 500 grand a year, and everyone just shares the load, right? Then people become specialist generalists, where they have a specialist job that they were hired for, but they also do all of this extra stuff that there's just no role for at the moment. And that's what is creating that tax of bandwidth. And where we break through the other side is where you build a business where everyone is a specialist. And what does that require? It requires you to step up as a leader and help build the systems that elevate your current people to their potential and then creates the margin and the space for you to then hire the people that you really need. And sometimes you've got to invest before that comes back in multiple folds. So it's something we've got to work through. Hope that makes sense. Now, let's talk about value driver number 5. Paul said, do margins drop above 1 mil because due to the profit killers you mentioned? Certainly, Paul. Yeah, really. And what it happens is because we've added that extra complexity, but we haven't evolved the financial model to support it. And interestingly, and some of you guys have already mentioned it, it's usually mindset related. It's because you're still price anchored to this small business. And now, as we start to evolve into this bigger beast, we don't feel like we can comfortably charge the prices that we know we should be charging. And people are going to start saying no. Clients and customers are going to leave. We're going to be outed as a fraud, right? These thoughts that we have about ourselves are going to be proved true once and for all. So what do? We just stay where we're comfortable. And at the end of the day, that means it's coming out of your pocket. So when we fix those profit killers, in many cases, it fixes this issue. And you have the margin to be able to go hire those people that you need. So I appreciate you identifying it. Paul Redfern said, is there a benefit to cross-skilling in roles to avoid single points of failure with isolated role specialism? It's a really good question, Paul. I think that is the difference between generalists and specialists. And that's that kind of specialist generalist position. I think if you truly want to be successful and scale a business to 8 figures plus, everybody in the business needs to be a specialist. Now, the goal is we get to a point for those really key roles, which usually isn't going to be in your sales, in your marketing, and in your delivery, that we hire multiple people in those roles. So, for example, in your scaffolding business, you're going to have multiple scaffolders, right? You're not going to have one scaffolder because you're not going to have a big business if you just got one person. So we want to dilute the pool by having more talent. Same thing with sales. If there's somebody who's responsible for estimating, well, if you've got one estimator, that's a lot of key person risk. So how do we build the business to a point where you can have two? So we've now spread the risk 50-50, or get big enough where we can have 3 estimators. Now, sure, you might start training somebody up in the interim, one of your guys who might be interested in stepping into being an estimator, who's got the character and the skill set to do it. But the goal needs to be that he needs to hand off his technical role and then step into the new role. So once again, this is what we call elevate and delegate. I hope that makes sense. Cool, guys. Let's talk about value driver number 5. So client concentration. What happens if your biggest client leaves? So as a general rule of thumb, no single client should represent more than 15% of your revenue. So the higher that concentration, the higher the risk, and the lower the multiple that you will receive when you sell your business. Okay. So it's really important that if you do have, if you're in, you're dealing with government clients or big commercial clients, big contracts, it's not to say that we fire these people, right? It's that we need to proactively look to bring in more clients to dilute their percentage of revenue. Otherwise, what will usually happen is the acquirer is going to say, hey, I'm not going to pay you on that big client. We're going to hold that in retention, and they need to stay for a period of time, whether it be 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, and then we'll pay you then, right? And ideally, we don't want you to have to deal with retention payments, okay? That we want to structure the business so you can get as much money up front. All right. So let's do a summary on the last 3. So value driver number 6, minimal founder dependency. The question that you need to constantly ask is, can your business run for 30 days without you? And the goal is we need to test it. So question for you guys, what is the longest amount of time you think you could take out of your business, phone switched off, uncontactable, and not come back to a fiery burning heap? Be honest. A few cheeky grins. 2 days, 2 weeks, a month, 4 weeks, a week. Okay, cool. Whatever it is. And I don't care if it's a day. The goal is as follows. 2 hours. That's okay, Deborah. 6 weeks. Beautiful. That's great. 4 weeks. Awesome. Love to hear it. Now, there's no judgment. Wherever you are is where you are. Here is the goal. We need to work out how do we test increasing that. My vision for all of you is that you should be able to take 8 weeks off a year, and that should be broken down into at least 2 weeks every quarter. Okay. Now that might seem crazy for some of you right now. So if that's too long, try a week. If that seems crazy, try 3 days, whatever it might be. But leading up to that, I want you to book it in the diary within the next 90 days. Okay. Leading up to that, I want you to create a plan of what do you think is going to break when you take that time out. So let's say it is a week. Between now and then, I want you to create a plan to build the systems and to train the team to allow you to be completely switched off for that amount of time. Okay. So we do that between now and then. We take the break. Now, you must endure the ego death and allow things to break if they need to. Like systems are made to be broken. You're not going to know what to fix unless you allow them to run their course. And trust me, like it's not going to be catastrophic. Okay. If you've done the first part right. And then when you come back, assess that against your plan of what you implemented and what you thought was going to break and what you thought wasn't. And then that now becomes what you fix over the next 90 days. So then you rinse and repeat with more time the next time. So, Anne, ideally 2 weeks. If you can't take that long, do a week. If you can't take long, take 3 days. Once again, you need to be able to demonstrate that you've taken time out of your business and you've been able to prove that the systems can run without you. Make sense? And it's fun as well, right? Like I take 12 weeks a year out of my business. I take 2 weeks every quarter after our Financial Freedom Summit. And then I usually take 3 to 4 weeks over Christmas. And so it gives me a tremendous amount of time to reflect and to recharge the batteries. And it also allows me to see what breaks. So then when I come back, I can fix it. And interestingly, and this does hurt the ego, guys, usually when I take time off, I come back and the business has grown more than when I was there. I don't know what that says about me. But that's the best position to be in, right? Cool. So value driver number 7, clean and accurate financials, up-to-date books, job costing, real-time dashboards. Guys, a couple of questions for you. If I jumped into your accounting software right now and I downloaded a P&L report, are you confident that it's going to be accurate up to the end of February? And am I going to be able to look at the chart of accounts, the tracking categories, and know exactly what everything is without having to ask you? Yes or no? No judgment. No. Yeah, of course, Anne. Accountants in the house. I love it. Eve, great, fantastic. Catherine, maybe. So, second to that, do you have a real-time dashboard that enables you to be able to see how your business is tracking for the next 13 weeks? That tracks leads, sales, your work in progress, your productivity, or other important metrics in your business that give you confidence and clarity around the next quarter. On Xero, cool. And Xero's okay. It's probably not as detailed as like in terms of the lead indicators, Catherine, in terms of your leads and your sales and whatnot. Great for the financial stuff. Yeah, on MYOB. Yep, cool. So yeah, the MYOB and Xero stuff is the lag indicators. We want to make sure we've got the lead indicators. So these are some things to think about. Because once again, the more clarity we have, what gets tracked gets measured, and what gets measured gets improved. Just by having that data up to date at your fingertips on a weekly, fortnightly, monthly basis, it influences your decisions. Now, value driver number 8, growth strategy with upside. Buyers want to see where they can take the business next. I'm going to come back to Paul's question because I missed it. When thinking of sale, is it better to take the upside before the sale for multiple against the higher base, or leave buyer room for upside and get a higher multiple on a lower base? Look, mate, I just want the biggest figure. And I'm going to talk a little bit about valuation multiples shortly. But the big thing that buyers look for is, from a growth perspective, is what is the year-on-year growth of revenue, and also what is the year-on-year growth on profit. Now, as a general rule of thumb, if your business is doing consistent growth in terms of top line revenue and profit of more than 20% year on year, you will get a significantly higher valuation. Because we've got to consider that I think the last time I looked at the statistics, the average small business in Australia, its average growth rate is about 3 or 4%, like keeping up with inflation. It's not great. It's not great at all. So once again, if you want to get a high valuation multiple, we need to be able to demonstrate that we've got a consistent growth trajectory. So guys, quick pulse check. From what we've covered off so far, what have been your key takeouts? What are the golden nuggets? Let me know in the chat. Or maybe you can't stand looking at me anymore without wanting to punch me in my beardy face, but just let me know. Need a dashboard, Paul. Love it. We're actually planning to do a session specifically on dashboards. I've just written my 11th book called Data Driven Empire. That's all on dashboards and numbers. So we'll be doing that in a couple of months' time. Darren, developing systems. Yep, systems, Deborah. Dashboard, Joel. Fix the dashboards. Yep. Finding the right accounting software platform, Martin. Yep. Systems and diversifying revenue dependence on NDIS. Need a growth strategy. Yep, cool. Need more focus on the lead indicators. Yeah, definitely, Eve. Staff don't like upsell, but they need to notice other work. Definitely. Yeah. Awesome, guys. Cool. All right, let's charge on. So, industry multiples. Now, once again, these are just benchmarks, okay? What this comes down to is that an acquirer will spend what they want to spend where they see value, okay? And it only takes two acquirers in order to bid up the value of a business. So when we look at this, service firms, so usually about a 2.5 times profit. So we're talking professional services, even allied health businesses around about that 2.5 times multiple. Retail, 1.8 times profit. Construction is 1.5 times profit. Healthcare, utilities, mining, 4 to 10 times profit. So usually the bigger the multiple, the higher the profit margin, the less reliance on labor, trading time for money, the more consistency of recurring revenue, and the higher the growth trajectory. That's usually what this comes down to. So when I look at most small businesses, and we're talking businesses that sell for less than 5 million, and yeah, profit would be EBITDA, Paul, they usually sell between 1 and 3 times, depending on the industry and the risk, okay? So let's talk through the exit pathways, guys. There are 3 pathways, and we want to design an exit not necessarily for a deadline. We want to make sure that we design these based on principles, okay? So this is a mindset first. Businesses built to sell are better businesses to run. They're clearer, they're cleaner, they're more profitable, they're less chaotic. And they give you more freedom as the founder, whether or not you choose to sell, okay? So there are some exit questions that you need to ask yourself. If I sold my business tomorrow, what would break? Like, what would be the first thing that the buyer would call you about? Of like, this broke. Like, what's going on? Help me. What would it be? And my favorite dinosaur is a velociraptor. Uh, and now I don't know if it's Dino or if it's Dino. I hope it's Dino. Um, that'll make my evening. Staff training. Yep. Daily running of staff management. Yep. So that's one of the systems. Now, who would a buyer worry about losing? And I'm sure you can see them. Like it's either a client or a customer or it's a team member. And you may not want to share, but as if you've got the person in your head, who would they be worried about losing? Key clinician. Yeah. Losing you. Yeah. Admin staff. Yep. Cool. Now, what knowledge is still stuck in your head that you just haven't got around to unpacking or training your team on? Yeah, and students, because they say I'm the face of the business and they stay around for me. Yeah, so I think the big thing there is we just need to transition the personality of Anne to the outcomes of your system. And we've got a methodology for that. So we can work on building value there. So what knowledge is still stuck in your head? There's a lot. Yeah, and this could be the overwhelming part because you're like, where do I start? Yeah, you got to time block it, Paul. And it's how you eat an elephant, one bite at a time, right? client profiles. You can't change your customer relationships that you have with your clients and transferring. Yep, all of it. I get you. So what would make your business irresistible to someone else? Like, what's the secret sauce that makes your business unique? And Matt, yeah, that is why buyers usually structure a sale through earnout, because it's about minimizing risk. And in a lot of cases, they also do it because they're dicks and they just try and play hardball, because usually what they'll do is they'll do it as an earnout and then they will just make life miserable for you. So you leave and you forfeit the earnout. So we've just got to be mindful that we don't find ourselves in that position. Uh, Paul, irresistible, sticky recurring revenue and year-on-year growth. Love it. Yeah, I need to get my husband's IP out of his head, but he doesn't see the value and doesn't want to be on camera. Maybe we're going to have like a secret recording or something. Wear a wire, Liz. The avatar. Yeah, it's it's usually the unique. Yeah, the wiretap the hubby. I love it. I can see it now. Um, a clone is needed. Yeah, definitely, and it's coming with AI. But once again, we've got to unpack this stuff so then we can create a clone. So look, these questions are really important because this ultimately determines the number of exit pathways that you've got. So let me walk you through it. Exit pathway number one, which I honestly would prefer for you. Right. Why? Because if you sell your business, let's say you get a 3 times multiple, and let's say that your profit is 500 grand, you're going to get 1.5 million. Okay. You're going to pay some tax, depending on how we structure it. We'll talk about that tonight. And then your cash flow has stopped. What are you going to do? Are you really going to retire? For some of you, you will, which is fine. But for a lot of you, you're not. You're going to go start something else and you're going to have to start it from scratch. Do you remember what it was like to have a startup? And how much it sucked? And interestingly, for a lot of my clients who then sell their business, they go up and start something else, they end up regretting it. Why? Because they've crystallized their compounding. So the goal here is we go through the process of preparing the business for sale, but in a lot of cases, we do it so you actually keep it, but you step out. We build a self-managed business that has a full leadership team. You become the chairman or chairwoman, and you have a strategic growth role. The business funds your lifestyle and your business becomes a wealth engine. And let's face it, you've only got to hold it for 3 years for it to pay the profit that you would have got from selling it anyway. And if we do this properly, we can drastically increase the profit where that might be 18 months. It might be only a year. Now, exit pathway number two is sell it, hopefully for a premium. Okay. So we need to prepare the business for an acquisition. So there are different types of buyers. There's a trade buyer, there's private equity, there's a competitor, there's internal succession or a management buyout. The goal is we want to have the business ready to transition with minimal disruption and ideally minimal earnout and have a strong value. Now, when we think about selling the business, there are two types of buyers, really. There are retail and strategic buyers. So a retail buyer is usually buying themselves a job. They want stability, they want a clean handover, they want predictable earnings. They might pay 2 times, okay? But a strategic acquirer wants leverage. They want your IP, they want your brand, they want your clients, and in many cases, they will pay double. We have seen clients of ours sell, in many cases, for 100 to 200% more than what the standard market multiple was, because they positioned the business to a strategic acquirer. Because that acquirer saw the value of the business they were buying as a force multiplier. Now, exit pathway number three, we scale it and then we sell it later. So we actually reverse this. We acquire other businesses because here's the thing. We have an aging population. There are baby boomers who are transitioning to retirement. And over the course of the next 10 to 15 years, we're going to see a tremendous amount of businesses hit the market, where in many cases, those people thought their kids would step into the business and they're not interested. And someone's dog, thanks for that. And they're going to their business isn't going to be prepared for sale. So you will have the opportunity to buy these businesses in many cases for cents on the dollar and roll them into your business. We've structured deals for clients where they've actually given the business for free because they just wanted that person to look after their clients. But you've got to be prepared for it, right? And yeah, sure, there's lots of private equity that's happening in healthcare. I agree with you, Liz. I think it's pretty distasteful. But unfortunately, it is what it is. So this is what we do in our business. We acquire other professional services businesses, we roll them into our group, and it's usually because they have a service offering that our clients need. They're very good at what they do, and then we offer that service to our clients. That makes our business more valuable, and that allows us to continue to scale. And then in the future, by doing this, you're able to create a bigger business, which usually comes with a bigger multiple. So let me give you a case study. We had a client that we worked with a couple of years ago who had a multi-site plumbing and HVAC business, and he'd been doing it for over 30 years. Hugely founder dependent, right? He was the heart and soul of the business. Literally nothing moved without his approval, and he basically had a job, not a business. So he was ready to burn out. When he came to us, he said, Jackson, I need to sell my business in 18 months. So what did we do? Over 18 months, we installed a regional leadership team. We documented every important process in the business. We built a marketing and a sales team. We built reporting systems and financial dashboards. And he stepped into a full-time leadership position. The outcome was we then positioned the business to a sophisticated acquirer because they were looking to expand the territory. And they offered a multiple that would have been impossible a year earlier. Why? Because he had built a business that worked without him. And he ended up selling the business for a seven-figure plus settlement. So from a business that had no value to being able to be sold for over seven figures in 18 months is a pretty significant improvement. It just comes down to implementing the right process. So the point here, guys, is we prepare now, right? Because you might not be wanting to sell your business right now. For some of you, that sale is imminent in the next couple of years. The point is not to choose right now, it's to start preparing right now. Because I would much prefer to have a business that's ready for sale and to not sell it than to want to sell my business and it not be ready, okay? So let's talk through the 12-month plan. The goal here is in 12 months, how do we take yourself from replaceable, from firefighter to being the true CEO? So here's the current reality. If your current day is running through your to-do list before your feet hit the floor, and you're thinking about how should we handle this client issue? Should we order more stock today? What do we do about this late project? You're the go-to person for everyone, right? You're the problem solver, you're the decision maker, you're the firefighter. And there's a tremendous cost for you being indispensable, right? Like at first, it feels good, right? Because your ego likes being the hero. But over time, your holidays become rarer. There's more stressful. There's personal time that shrinks. Family moments get interrupted by calls and emergencies. The business can't function without you. So let's just consider the hidden costs here, guys. Financial costs, the inefficiencies, the delays, the reworks, they eat into your margins. The opportunity cost, the partnerships, the strategies, the investments that are left untouched. What about the personal cost? The missed family dinners, the stress-related health issues, the strained relationships. Like more than half of Australian SME business owners report serious negative impacts on well-being from stress and overwork. Like, I'm sure you guys relate. So I'll give you another case study. Mark the Sparky. So he had an electrical business. He'd hit 2.2 million rev, still on the tools, making all of the decisions. First one in, last one out, working 60 to 70 hours a week. The business grew, but his freedom shrank. So the breakthrough was we took one of his senior tradespeople who we psychometrically profiled them. We made sure they were the right person and we promoted them into the ops manager role. They built systems for quoting, scheduling, and client comms. And then we scaled the business to 3 million in rev at 20% profit margins. And he was able to have his first 2-week holiday since he started the business. It's relatively straightforward stuff. Now, Sean had a multi-location construction business in Queensland. He was doing about 3 million rev. He was draining in about 15 meetings a week. He was managing team drama, checking emails at midnight. And the decision was no more than 20 hours a week in the weeds. So, same story. We hired an operations manager for the day-to-day performance. We had weekly leadership meetings and only 10 hours a week for the growth initiatives. And we had a 90-day action plan with accountability. So the business grew to 5 mil within 12 months. And he had his first 4-week uninterrupted holiday, right? Like, this is the real job of a CEO, guys, right? Your job is not to do the work. It's to build the team and the systems that do the work better than you. So this goes from you being the company's best technician to being its best leader and visionary. So what does work on the business look like? Because this stuff isn't just going to happen, guys, right? We spoke a little bit about lag and lead indicators. Selling your business and having a great business value is a lag indicator for working on your business as the lead indicator. So own the vision. Where is the business heading over the next 3 years? Driving the strategic projects, leadership team, new divisions, acquisitions. Leading key relationships like high-level partnerships, major clients, investors. Coaching your leaders, like equipping them to make decisions without you. And protecting your time, learning to say no more often. How many of these things are you doing right now, guys? Let me know in the chat. Bit of all of it? Awesome, great. I'm tired, I get ya. Not enough, Moira. Because these are the real needle movers, guys. Imagine if we went from a bit of all of it to this being the majority of the work that you do in your business. What do you think would change? So let's talk about the leadership ladder. The $10 an hour tasks, the admin, the inbox, the low value tasks, then the $100 an hour task, the project work, the delivery, and then the $1,000 an hour task, which is the strategy, the leadership, and the key relationships, right? Because the reality is if you're spending your time doing the $10 an hour tasks and the $100 an hour tasks, your business isn't moving forward. You need to start valuing your time at $1,000 an hour. Like imagine that you had an employee that was costing you $1,000 an hour. Would you be onto them about where they're investing their time? Would you crack the shits when they spent their time doing admin, inbox management, and low value work? And honestly, with your skill set, your experience, your credibility, everything that you've worked for, are you worth $1,000 an hour? Of course you are. So why aren't you valuing your time like that? Because here's the true cost of low value work, guys. Like 2 hours a week at $15 an hour tasks cost you $52,000 a year in missed opportunity. Like every hour that you spend on low value tasks costs the business thousands in missed opportunity. And that stops somebody else from growing, okay? So this is about building the leadership engine. You need to build a capable team who handle the day-to-day operations effectively, independently, and profitably. We need to build a team that you trust to make decisions and solve problems without you dragging every detail, right? So there are 3 pillars to leadership. And I want you guys to really think about how you work on implementing these in your business, right? First is clarity. Every team member needs to know what success looks like. Clear job descriptions, measurable KPIs, explicit expectations. 2 is capability. Right skills, right training, right tools. Invest in development of your people. And 3 is accountability. Regular check-ins, performance reviews, and then consequences for non-delivery. So for our private clients, we've just built the team accelerator that gives you an end-to-end playbook of planning your recruitment, onboarding the right people, getting them through probation, and getting them profitable. So guys, make sure that you've jumped onto that if you haven't got those assets already. So step by step, select your leaders. Like identify who shows leadership potential in your team. Define the clear roles and KPIs. Get rid of the ambiguity. implement structured meetings, so weekly ops, monthly leadership reviews, delegate authority, not tasks, start small, support them, and then step back, and then reinforce with feedback and coaching, like celebrate the wins, address the shortfalls. Because there's fear in delegation, guys, right? I know what you're all thinking. Like, will my quality suffer? Will my team make expensive mistakes? Can I trust them to care as much as I do? And the hard truth is your unwillingness to trust and delegate creates exactly the situation that you fear most. An overwhelmed leader, being you, an ineffective team, and declining quality because they don't think for themselves anymore. So if you implement these things, this will then allow you to have that test vacation that we spoke about. And I really urge you guys to have the courage and book this in over the next 90 days, whether it be 1 or 2 weeks. Ideally, tie this in with our upcoming Financial Freedom Summit. Work on building the systems leading up to it, see what breaks, and then fix it. This becomes a game. Systems are made to be broken. We need to let them fail, fix them, and ensure that they don't break again. So, guys, this is a bit of exciting stuff that I love. Tax. I'm sure you guys are excited for 7 or 8 p.m. in the evening. So I want to talk about, woohoo, Moira, but this is really exciting. It's called the Small Business CGT Concession. So this is a potential for a tax-free exit, and it's often the most overlooked opportunity in Australian businesses, okay? So the big picture is that selling your business is usually one of the biggest paydays of your life. And if you don't understand these tax rules, the ATO can take a big share, okay? So Australia has the best small business CGT concessions in the world, okay? And in many cases, it can drastically reduce or even fully eliminate your capital gains tax. And if you use it well, we've seen it save clients hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars, okay? So let me talk you through some of the qualification, and I urge you to seek advice on this. This is something that we can help you with as part of our chartered accounting business. But first and foremost, if you have a business that's valued at under $6 million, the business is what's called an active asset, meaning that you are actively trading. It's a business, it's not a passive entity that just holds investments. And that the business either has $2 million of turnover or less, or you have total net assets of under $6 million. So that means your investment assets outside of the business. So if you're selling the business, it's an active asset if you are running a business and you own at least 20% of the shares in that business, okay? So if you tick those boxes, then we can then start moving into the 4 CGT concessions. So the first one is the 15-year exemption. So if you own the business for 15 years, you're over 55, you're retiring, zero tax on the entire gain. Congratulations, tax-free sale. If not, you get a 50% active asset reduction. So this cuts the taxable gain in half, and this also stacks with the existing capital gains tax discount. So that means you get a 75% reduction in tax. Then you've also got what's called the retirement exemption, where you have the ability to put up to $500,000 into superannuation tax-free. And then lastly is the rollover option. So if you can defer the gain, if you take whatever's left over and put it into another business within 2 years post the sale. Liz, if we just bought out a business partner and changed the entity, does our 15-year reset? I believe so. Yeah. So active business or bucket company versus rollover option. Bucket company wouldn't apply if a bucket, because typically a bucket company is passive. So this is the active business asset, okay? So let me give you an example, because this can be a little bit esoteric until I put some numbers around it. So if you've got $1 million gain, we have the 50% general discount. So that reduces to 500 grand. We then apply the 50% active asset reduction to 250, and then we contribute $250,000 to super. That means you pay zero tax. If you get this wrong, it could potentially mean that in this particular instance, you end up paying $250,000 in tax. And we've had people reach out to us who haven't got this right and have found themselves paying tax when they could have completely avoided it. Now, we had a client, Rosemarie. She had a business that she was running for 20 years. It was actually originally she had an allied health business. And it was ticking along, but it wasn't really performing strongly. So we took her through our financial freedom roadmap. and we showed her what she needed for her and her husband to be able to be financially free. So she actually decided to sell that business. She sold it for 500,000, and she used that as a deposit. She acquired a hotel and a hospitality business, and she borrowed about 1.5 million. And the goal was we wanted to double the profit from 500,000 to $1 million. And we wanted to then sell the business for $4 million and work towards structuring it completely tax-free. So we did that, and we were able to sell it for 4 mil. We had the capital gains before the concession of 2 million. We applied the general discount of $1 million. We then took the small business 50% reduction down to 500,000. And then we used the retirement exemption of 500,000, which basically means that the tax saving was $470,000. Pretty incredible. In fact, she then used that money to go buy another business, and she's going to look and rinse and repeat the process again. So the idea was she walked away with the 4 full mil, and she had the clarity and confidence to go into the next chapter. She turned an underperforming business into a strategic move that set up her family for life. Paul, is the amount that's put into super tax? No, it's not. So, common mistakes to avoid. You wait until the sale contract is on the table to check your eligibility. Like, the goal should be, we should be reviewing this as soon as you start thinking of selling your business. Next, not documenting retirement when using the 15-year exemption and missing the deadlines for the written elections and poor record keeping. Like, the ATO wants evidence on this stuff. This is an area that they're scrutinizing a lot because the concessions are so lucrative. So the chance of you being audited on these things is very high. So once again, when you do this kind of thing, make sure that you are working with a great accountant who knows this stuff. So that's about, are you, there's a statutory declaration process of saying that you're retired. It doesn't mean that you have to be retired forever, but there's a documentation process required for us to ensure that it's bona fide retirement at the point in time. So guys, we've covered a lot of ground. I want you to take an opportunity to do a review of the 8 core value drivers. And I want you to score yourself out of 10 for each of these things, right? So 10 being fantastic, 1 being pretty bad. Profitability, recurring, repeating revenue, systems and documentation, leadership independence, low client concentration, clean financials, growth upside, and founder dependency. Obviously, a 10 means that you're fully removed from the business. And look, once again, the idea here is the score is just a way of you quantifying where you're at so we can work out what we should be focusing on. So guys, the idea here is when we identify the lowest scores, we ask ourselves, if I sold tomorrow, what would break? What are the functions that rely on you solely? We want to make sure that you can choose. Do you keep it? Do you scale it? Do you sell it? And then we look to create that 90-day action plan for the 3 weakest areas. So then we can focus on improving. And this is an iterative process. This is the reason why we say it's minimum 1 year, ideally 3 years, because that gives us enough time to optimize these things and get that score as high as possible. So here's the cost of doing nothing, guys, right? Like, if you are on the tools, your body gets worse. If you're a professional, like, once again, the mental tax has such a significant impact, right? The options get fewer. Later is expensive. The goal here is that business owners who retire rich started planning 3 to 5 years before they wanted out. And the business owners who retire broke is they say, I'll just figure it out later. So the goal here is we want to focus on the next right thing, right? Like, everyone should have people around them that are focused on the next right thing, guys, right? So the right mentor really brings 2 things. They bring new ideas and they bring accountability. Like, let's face it, you've invested time this evening and there are new ideas, hopefully, in your head right now that you wouldn't have had if you didn't make time for this session. Now, imagine that if you knew all of this and you'd implemented it 12 months ago, what do you think would have happened? Would you be better or worse off right now? Goes without saying. Now, I'll give you an example. For those of you here as guests, these are some of our client results. We had a client who did $2.027 million in profit, up 754% in 12 months. $2 million, up 248% in 12 months. 714,000, up 24% in 12 months. 662,000, up 304% in 12 months. 635,000, up 990% in 12 months. You can see that these aren't small figures. These are significant growth, and it's this growth that allows us to then have more options to get a higher multiple. So how does this work, guys? When we focus on the next right thing, we focus firstly on the mindset, the belief of what is possible, and increasing the quality of your ideas. That alone is not going to help you. It's about then your actions. What do you actually do? And if we do those things, then your outcomes, your income, your happiness, the options you've got on the table to sell, if you want to change the outcome, you need to change your mindset and your actions. So have a think about this. Like, how much did you earn last month? And are you really happy with how much your business rewards you financially at the moment? And are you confident in your business's ability to get through whatever your silly season is for you? I know Easter's coming up for many businesses. That's a really tough time. End of financial year, maybe next Christmas. And are you on track for financial freedom? And if you're not, you need a new mindset, you need a new plan, you need accountability, you ultimately need a mentor to support. So you have a choice. So I'd love to invite you guys to our upcoming Financial Freedom Summit called 7 Figure Profits. It's 3 days to turn your business from a cash-eating monster into a wealth-building machine. And what we're going to be covering over the course of 3 days is day one is going deep into the profit mastery machine. Now, for a lot of you guys who are here as clients, we've gone through this before, but we're taking this to the next level so we can continue to extract more profit from your business. Day two is the 7 levers to endless profits. It's about how do we actually design or redesign and renovate your entire financial model to help you extract more profit and cash flow from your business. And day 3 is the dashboard, the implementation, and the wealth bridge. Now, we're also very excited because we have Naomi Simpson, who's going to be joining us as a guest speaker. So Naomi is an Australian entrepreneur and author, a business leader best known for founding Red Balloon. And it's an online experience gift retailer that launched in 2001. And she started it with $25,000 in personal investment. And she went on to found the Big Red Group in 2017, which grew to become the largest marketplace of experiences in Australia and New Zealand. She's also one of the original sharks on Australian Shark Tank. So I'm really excited to have Naomi join us. We're also going to be going through our brand new end-to-end playbook and accelerator. Now, if you haven't been to our live events before, guys, we do things differently. This is not just new ideas. We give you the playbooks, we give you the tools, we give you the implementation guides. We give you everything that you need to be able to take back and embed into your business and your personal finances, or hand over to your team and get them embedded for you. So we're going through the business identity, where are you now, the profit foundations, the profit mastery machine, pricing and financial model design, Fathom and financial reporting, profitable hiring, and helping you set up your scorecard, along with all of the tools and everything that you need. It's also fully catered, so you can focus on growing your profit and your personal wealth and being surrounded by other like-minded 7- and 8-figure business owners. Like, we're proud to have the only community in Australia for 7- and 8-figure business owners who are focused on profit and wealth. These are high caliber people. And these events actually cost us over $2,000 per person to run. Like, the best venues, catering, speakers, logistics, team, videographers. But we've simplified things. So if you guys are here as an existing Aureus client, mastery members, your ticket's already included in your membership. So just make sure that you've registered. Our other Aureus clients get a discounted price of $997, and guests are $1,997. But we are doing a special offer. So Brett, if you want to drop the link and the discount code into the chat, if you do book in by the end of the week, you will get $500 off the guest price. So that's going to be $1,497 for 3 full days, all of the playbooks, fully catered, everything included. So make sure that you guys register now. We do limit these events at 100 seats, and they are going to sell out quickly. So make sure that you jump in because they do fill up every year. If you're serious about your exit, you're serious about your profit, you're serious about your tax position, this is the room to be in, guys. So you've got two choices tonight. Take the scorecard, take the code that we've given you, secure your seat at the summit, and do this properly. Or you're just going to go back to doing things the hard way, right? So we'll be closing the cart on the special offer by close of business on Friday. So make sure that you jump on it. So guys, is this an event that's just for people that are planning to sell? No. The reason why we call it seven-figure profits is because this is about you either preparing for an exit, but maximizing to get more pay, for helping you get more freedom, regardless of whether or not you sell. Like, this is about building a business that works for you, not the other way around. Now, I know for some of you, you're regional, you're not based in Sydney. We are going to be running this Financial Freedom Summit in Sydney. We've got people flying in from Queensland, from WA, from Victoria. I actually live up in Cairns. So make sure that you make the time. Just find a way to be in the room. We do these things in person because there's nothing quite like getting together and being in a room of like-minded people to move the needle forwards. Now, you might be saying, well, I can't take 3 days out of my business, right? That statement right there is the exact problem we're solving. If your business cannot function for 3 days without you, you don't have a business, you have a job that owns you, right? Like, the other business owners in the room aren't less busy than you. They're there because they've decided to invest 3 days that's worth more than another 3 years of grind, right? Like, use that as an opportunity to test the systems, step away for 72 hours. That's not a scheduling issue, it's a structural one. And that's exactly what we're going to fix at the summit. Now, what return can I expect? Because it's a decent investment, right? And I'll give you a specific answer. Like, our clients who come to the summits and implement the profit strategies usually get a minimum of 10 times their ticket price within 90 days, right? Like, we have electrical businesses that have gone from a loss to close to $1 million in profit in 12 months. We've had other service businesses that have increased their profit by 600 grand. Pool builders that have grown 21% while working fewer hours. Like, this is not just a promise, this is our commitment. These are real results from our clients. And these are similar people that you, at your similar stage of business. So at the end of the day, like, for the investment that you make in the ticket and the time out of your business, and obviously the travel, a single strategy could be worth over $15,000. And if it's not, I'd be very genuinely surprised. Now, I've been to events before and nothing changes. Like, most events give you information and they send you home. We build the plan in the room. Like, day one is profit, day two is implementation. You leave with a customized financial blueprint around your numbers, not just generic slides that you forget by the next Tuesday. Okay. The difference between content is accountability. Like, you're in the room with other people at your level who are doing the same work at the same time, that you guys can brainstorm and use your collective experience to improve your execution. That is the difference, right? Now, is this only useful if I'm planning to sell? No. Once again, you don't need to sell. We want to build a saleable business, strong margins, documented systems, leadership independence, a team that runs without you. These are the things that make your business worth owning. And whether you sell in years or never, you're going to run a better business and you're hopefully going to earn more and work less. That's what we're working towards. So guys, it's April 22nd to 24th at the Sydney Masonic Centre. Make sure you jump on the details. And once again, guys, like, we have countless client case studies. You've only got to jump on our website to be able to see. We had an electrical client of ours that achieved a 17% revenue growth and 5,468% profit growth in 12 months. Like, you went from a loss to almost $1 million in profit in 12 months. We had another client of ours who had a service business. We had 25% revenue growth and 1,386% profit growth, right? Like, they had less overhead as a result and produced over $600,000 in profit. We had a pool building business that had 21% revenue growth and 170% profit growth. He was able to do this while keeping his expenses almost the same and working less hours. And we had a client of ours who had a garage door business that grew 53% and achieved 144% profit growth, all while taking 8 weeks off overseas. So the results speak for themselves, guys. So why now? Why you? Well, look, staying stuck is expensive. Burnout is real. And There is a gap between where you are now and where you want to go, and it's strategy, not more effort, right? We want to help you be surrounded by a room of business owners who are done tolerating, that are done with having profit margins that don't reflect their workload, that have teams that rely on them for everything, and have this endless grind with no end in sight. The difference is leverage, it's clarity, and it's cash flow. And ultimately, well, what happens if you don't? Well, nothing really changes, guys. You keep doing everything, you keep spinning plates, you keep wondering where the time, the money, and the joy went. This isn't about working harder. This is about building a business that finally pays you back. So hopefully you guys can join us. So we've got a bit of time for questions. If there's anything I haven't covered, any open loops, either jump in the chat or feel free to take yourself off mute. Or if you don't have any questions, if you just want to share what's been most valuable, feel free to let me know in the comments. Otherwise, you're more than welcome to enjoy the rest of your evening. Just give us a thanks in the chat. Is there any pre-work for the summit that we need to prepare? Paul, I would just advocate that you've got all of your bookkeeping up to date, if you haven't done so already. And because we're going to be using your financials in order to prepare all of the activities. Now, we also call that a bit of a come to Jesus moment, because for some people it's a little bit overwhelming. We want to get you into your financial driver's seat, okay? So main thing is just try and consume some of the materials in the academy as the pre-work, and try and note down your most anxious inducing questions that you've got around your finances. So I'll help you break through it. Awesome, Gino. Lots I haven't thought about. Pleasure. Hope you enjoyed it. Yeah, and Paul, we do offer private advice as well. So the team will reach out to have a conversation with you guys if you'd like to have a conversation around working with us in a one-on-one capacity. So love to have a conversation and see how we can help, guys. All right, everyone. Enjoy your evenings. It's been my absolute pleasure. And remember, a good idea in theory remains exactly that, just a good idea until you put it into practice. So I look forward to seeing you implement, and we'll catch you on the next one. Take care, guys.